Okay, so if I have to read one more think piece about how, Gen Z is killing the workplace, I might actually scream.
Oh, I know. It's constant.
It is the water cooler topic that just refuses to die. You know the drill. They don't want to work. They're too sensitive. They quit the second things get hard.
It's become this huge cultural feedback loop.
And frankly, I am exhausted by it.
Well, it really is the kids these days trope, just on steroids. But here's the problem with that loop. It gives us a very convenient excuse to ignore a much, much scarier reality.
How so?
It's comforting to blame the new kids. So that means we don't have to look in the mirror.
And that is exactly why we are doing this deep dive. We are taking a sledgehammer to that narrative today. We're looking at this comprehensive analysis. It's called Bridging the Generational Divide Through Structural Workplace Evolution. And the mission here is a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We aren't asking what's wrong with Gen Z. We're asking, is the modern workplace actually broken?
Right. And to be really clear, this isn't an opinion piece. We're not dealing with vibes here.
Yeah.
We are looking at organizational behavior data, workforce dynamics, and, evidence-based HR practices.
All the hard stuff.
And the thesis is sharp. It says, we are trying to run a 2025 workforce on like a 1990s operating system. And it is crashing.
I love that analogy. So the blue screen of death we're seeing isn't user error, it's incompatible software.
Precisely. The argument is that the friction we see, the turnover, the demand for flexibility, the questioning of authority, it isn't because Gen Z is deficient. It's because the modern workplace is structurally misaligned with how value is actually created today.
So we're using legacy practices.
We are. Systems built for control and hierarchy, and we're trying to use them in an era of distributed work and, rapid skill obsolescence.
Okay, but let's pause right there because I can hear the listeners saying, I manage these people, they are different. You can't tell me a 22-year-old today acts the same as a boomer did at 22. There is a tangible difference in how they show up.
And the data supports that observation. They do behave differently. But, and this is the key, the data disputes the cause. This is where cohort theory gets really interesting.
Okay.
The source cites this massive meta-analysis. They looked at work values across generations. And when you strip away the context, the core values are identical.
So the hardware is the same?
The hardware is human nature. I mean, everyone wants respect, everyone wants fair pay, everyone wants their work to mean something. But the environment, the software they're interacting with, has changed radically. The source argues Gen Z aren't snowflakes, they're rational actors.
Rational actors. Break that down for me.
Well, think about it. A 25-year-old boomer entered a workforce where paying your dues was a guarantee. You suffer through the grunt work, you stay loyal, and you get a pension and a gold watch.
That was the deal. That was the contract.
Right. And Gen Z, they enter the workforce post-2008, post-pandemic, right into the teeth of the gig economy.
Exactly. They watched their parents get laid off after 20 years of loyalty.
They saw that paying your dues guarantees absolutely nothing in the modern economy. So when a Gen Z employee refuses to work unpaid overtime, that isn't laziness. That is a rational economic calculation based on the environment they see.
They're treating the job as a transaction.
Because the company taught them to.
Wow. That rational calculation, that leads us directly to one of the heavyweight concepts in this research, the psychological contract. I feel like this is the key to the whole puzzle.
It is. It totally is. This comes from work in the mid-90s. The psychological contract isn't the paper you sign with HR. It's the unwritten set of mutual expectations. It's the deal.
So the old deal was what we just described, loyalty for security.
Correct. I give you obedience, you give me a career for life. But here is the friction point. Corporations tore up that contract years ago to prioritize shareholder value and agility.
They stopped offering the security part.
But, and this is so critical managers often still expect the loyalty part of the old deal.
Oh, I see. They want the obedience of 1990 without the pension of 1990.
Precisely. And meanwhile, the workforce, they've moved on to the new deal.
Which is?
It's since you can't promise me security, I demand employability. I want skills I can take with me, I want flexibility, and I want a fair exchange of value now, not in 10 years.
So when a manager says nobody wants to work, what they really mean is nobody is accepting the bad deal I'm offering anymore.
It's a breach of contract. And even if it was never written down, it feels like a betrayal. That's why the emotions run so high on this.
That puts the turnover numbers in a whole new light. It's not flakiness, it's a failed transaction. But I want to double click on the cost of this turnover.
Yeah.
Because usually when we talk about retention, we just talk about recruiter fees. Oh, it costs 20 grand to replace this engineer. But the source highlights something called innovation erosion. And that sounds way more serious than just losing a headcount.
It is so much worse because it's invisible. There's research that shows true innovation needs two ingredients: fresh perspective and deep contextual knowledge.
Okay, so you need the new idea, but you also need to know how to get it built inside the company.
Yes. If everyone leaves after 18 months, you have plenty of fresh ideas, but nobody knows where the bathroom is, let alone how to get a budget approved or, which stakeholder you need to get on board.
You get a company of tourists.
Exactly. A lot of motion, but no real movement.
Yeah.
But there's a cost to the individual, too, that I really want our younger listeners to hear. The source calls it the perpetual novice trap.
That one hit me hard reading this. It's such a counterintuitive take on job hopping.
It is. I mean, we often celebrate job hopping as the only way to bump your salary. And in the short term, that's often true. But there's a danger. If you jump ship every 18 months, you gain breadth. You've seen a lot of different office lobbies, but you never, ever gain depth.
You never stay long enough to live with the consequences of your decisions.
Exactly. You start projects, but you never have to maintain them. You never truly become an expert. You are, in effect, a trainee for 10 years.
Wow.
And that eventually catches up with you when you try to move into senior leadership and you realize you don't actually know how to steer the ship through a storm because you've always just jumped into a life raft the moment it started raining.
That is a sobering thought. Okay, speaking of steering the ship, let's pivot to management. Because another common complaint is nobody wants to be a manager anymore. And the source calls this a paradox because Gen Z is ambitious, they want to advance, but they look at a management role and they just say, no thanks.
Well, can you blame them?
Right.
Gen Z is very observant. They're looking at the layer above them, middle management, and what do they see?
Burnout. Total burnout. They see people stuck in Zoom calls for 8 hours a day.
They see responsibility without authority. Middle managers today are the shock absorbers of the organization. They have to enforce the return-to-office mandates they didn't write while trying to support a team that's also burning out.
To a rational observer, that looks like a terrible deal.
It is. It's the leadership pipeline crisis. And the source says it's not a lack of talent. It's that the roles themselves are structurally designed to fail.
Which is a perfect transition to the solution side of this, because if the roles are designed to fail, then we have to redesign the roles.
Let's do it.
Let's get into that, the how do we fix this part. Because we've diagnosed the disease, the system is broken, the contract is breached, the source outlines these major structural shifts. Let's start with one that sounds the most like corporate jargon, but is actually pretty cool. Competency-based career architecture.
Chuckles. It is a mouthful.
Translate that for me.
Okay, think of it like a video game. In the old world, you leveled up by time served. You wait 3 years, boom, you become a senior manager.
The wait your turn model.
Right. This new model is a skill tree, just like in a game.
Right.
You don't get promoted because you've been here 3 years. You get promoted because you unlock the negotiation skill and the sequel skill.
I love that. It kills the politics. It's not about who the boss likes. It's about what you can actually do.
It creates transparency. Instead of some vague promise that, if you work hard, you'll get promoted eventually, you have a clear map.
Yeah.
It empowers the worker to direct their own development.
And that transparency, that's the antidote to anxiety, which links to the second fix, which I think everyone will cheer for. The
Right.
end of the annual review, finally.
I think we can all get behind this one. The research is so clear. Annual reviews are often too late to be useful. It's like waiting until the car has crashed to tell the driver they were speeding.
Right.
So the source advocates for separating development conversations from evaluation conversations.
Because if I'm worried about my bonus, I'm not going to be honest about what I'm struggling with.
Precisely. And they suggest using feed-forward techniques. This is a subtle but really powerful shift. Instead of dissecting what went wrong 6 months ago, the manager asks, what are 2 things you can do differently next week to get a better result?
It shifts the brain from defense mode to problem-solving mode. Feed forward. I like that. It's actionable. Okay, number 3 is a direct response to the nobody wants to manage problem. Distributed leadership.
Right. Since we know the traditional middle manager role is becoming so unattractive, the solution is to unbundle leadership. Don't make leader just a job title. Make it a shared activity.
So, like rotating who runs the meeting.
Rotating meeting facilitation.
Yeah.
Rotating project leads, yeah. You give people a taste of leadership influence without authority, network orchestration, without forcing them into that crushed middle management role right away. It spreads the burden.
And it makes the team more resilient, too. If the manager gets hit by a bus, the team knows how to function. Okay, number 4 is communication architecture. This sounds technical, but it's really about decision documentation.
This is huge for trust. In so many organizations, decisions come down from on high, like lightning bolts. You don't know why, you just know it happened.
Yeah.
The source argues for making the why visible.
Showing your work.
Exactly. Documenting the options that were considered, the criteria you used. Even if an employee disagrees with the final decision, understanding the process creates respect. It stops that feeling that things are just happening to them arbitrarily.
Okay, last structural fix. Flexible work design. And the source is really specific here. It's not just home versus office.
No, the debate gets stuck there, and that's not the point. The real shift is to results-oriented work. And a key part of that is being asynchronous first.
This is music to my ears. Defaulting to asynchronous communication.
Yeah, the recommendation is to use email, Slack, or shared docs for all that routine info, and you save the meetings for the really complex, knotty problem solving.
It respects people's time and allows for deep work.
And it stops the day from just being 8 hours of back-to-back Zoom calls where no actual work gets done, which, I mean, that's a driver of burnout for every single generation.
Absolutely. So we've rebuilt the career ladder, the review process, the management structure, and meeting culture. But there's one more layer. It's the soft stuff. But the source insists it's actually hard science. Purpose and belonging.
It is hard science.
Yeah.
I mean, the source cites all this work on psychological safety. And the definition is so important. It's the belief that you can take risks, ask a dumb question, admit a mistake, propose a wild idea without punishment.
And without that.
Without that, you don't get learning. You certainly don't get innovation.
Yeah.
I mean, the strongest predictor of learning behavior in a team is psychological safety. If anyone feels like one wrong move will get them canceled or fired, they will just hide. They won't engage.
And this ties into inclusion, right? It's not just being in the room, it's having a voice that actually affects decisions.
Correct. And then finally, reciprocity. This goes right back to the psychological contract. The relationship has to be a two-way street. Companies need to use realistic job previews. Be honest about the bad parts of the job during the interview process.
Don't sell it as a dream job if it's actually a grind.
Exactly. If you overpromise and underdeliver, you create a psychological contract breach on day one. Honesty builds retention way better than a glossy sales pitch.
So if we zoom all the way out, we started at the water cooler complaining about the lazy generation. But the data suggests that Gen Z is actually just the canary in the coal mine.
That is the perfect image. The canary dies first, not because it's weak, but because the air is toxic. Gen Z is reacting visibly to a system that is failing everyone.
Right.
Boomers, Gen X, millennials, we all want clear career paths. We all want psychological safety. We all want our work to mean something. But Gen Z is the first generation to really look at the system and say, you know what? I'm not playing this game unless you change the rules.
So the question isn't how do I fix these kids? The question is why am I defending a system that was designed for a world that ended 20 years ago?
If your operating system is crashing, you don't blame the user. You upgrade the software. And the best part, these updates, better feedback, clearer career paths, distributed leadership, they make the workplace better for the 50-year-old just as much as the 20-year-old.
And that is the thought to take into your next strategy meeting. Don't look at the people, look at the architecture. Thank you for diving in with us today. This was a really necessary reframe.
Always a pleasure. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just time to evolve.
And thank you for listening. We'll see you on the next deep dive.